So the insurance part of company, again, the policy is going to be legal contracts, and we've already talked about who parties are to the contract. So the first party is going to be the insured or the applicant. The second party is going to be the insurer or the insurance company, also including the insurance agent. And the third party is going to be anybody else that's not part of the first two parties. So there are certain elements that are required for a legal contract to be in place. There has to be an agreement which includes both an offer and an acceptance. Right, so sometimes this can be an initial offer to buy the insurance and then approval by the insurance underwriter. Then it could also be that they come back with a counter offer, right? Which in case this could be the insurance company making the offer back to the insured, and unless they agree to the terms and conditions, which usually is a re-rate or an up-rate to the policy, that counter offer not being accepted would not constitute an agreement. So there has to be both the offer and the acceptance for agreement. The second element of a contract is consideration, something of value on both sides of the contract. For the insured, right, this is the answers that they give on their application along with the payment for the premium. And then the consideration on the contract side for the insurer is going to be the payment, promise to pay it in the event of a loss. All legal contracts have to have a competent party, right? This means that all of the parties to the contract have to be at least 18 years old. They have to be not intoxicated under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and they cannot be mentally incompetent. They have to be mentally competent. The easy way to remember that is 18, sane, and sober. And then all legal contracts have to have a legal purpose. So what ends up happening here is basically you won't be able to take the insurance policy for Pablo Escobar's cousin for that special warehouse that they have down there outside of El Paso. If it has contraband in it, it would not be under the legal purpose, and therefore the insurance would not be constituted as an element of a legal contract and therefore not be enforceable. Now, statements on applications are typically called representations. And so there are different types of representations. A representation is a statement that is believed to be true. However, there is no guarantee that it is true. A misrepresentation is any untrue statement that was given to the insurance company, but it would not affect any of the underwriting process. Now, if it is something that would affect the underwriting process, it is going to be then called a material misrepresentation. This is any kind of a false statement that would affect the underwriting. And then the last part is going to be fraud. This is an intentional act that always involves concealment. The insurance company is not required to void out the policy, but they may void out the policy, and pay particular attention to that on the test because they will sometimes try and trip you up with that. Concealment, okay? This is always going to be the intentional withholding of material facts. A warranty. Now, this is an important one to understand. It's an absolutely true statement upon which the validity of the entire policy depends. So a lot of times in relation to getting a significant discount on a policy, say for having an operating burglar or fire alarm system, the insurance company is willing to give you a much, much lower rate if you attest that you are going to continue to have that and that it's going to be operating so that they can be protected on having a major loss. Because it'll get the police or fire department out to your property much quicker if you have an operating alarm system. However, if you do not have that operating at the time of the loss, then they would consider this to be a void of the warranty, and they may, at their discretion, go ahead and disallow or void out the entire policy if you were not meeting the conditions of the warranty at the time of the loss. Okay, what is the insurance company looking at when they're trying to make a decision on what rate to charge you and whether or not they can offer you insurance? So the main thing that they're going to look at is going to be your application. However, there are going to be a couple of different things that they may look at. In addition to that, you may have them possibly pull a credit report. If it's dealing with an automobile, you may have them pull up motor vehicle records. If you've got a significant amount of time that you've been insured, they're going to look at your loss history to review to see if you've been putting a lot of claims through. All these things will affect the rate that they may have to charge you for the insurance. Next concept here is called a binder. Now, this can be technically oral. Usually it's written by the agent. Understand that this binder is going to be insurance. This is why they call insurance agents field underwriters, right? So basically what happens is they give you insurance right away. You pay them and they give you in return a binder. So that's a receipt that you've paid for the insurance. So the binder is actual insurance, and what happens is it's automatically going to cancel out after 30 days, or if the policy actually gets issued from the insurance company, or if they decide that they're not going to issue a policy, then they still have to follow the same rules because it is insurance, that they have to give you a 10-day written notice that they're going to cancel out your policy. Now, just because there's a binder in place does not mean that there's a guarantee that there's going to be a policy written. So if you are an insurance agent that does write up binders and they don't turn into policies, you're probably not going to be a field underwriter for that insurance company for very long if it happens very frequently, because basically they're taking a lot of risk on every policy that you write up, even though it's only for a short amount of time. This is something that would be a problem for an insurance company. An endorsement. An endorsement is anything that changes a policy. However, these things must be in writing and attached to the policy by the underwriter. So understand that anything that changes the policy from the original conditions in there would be called an endorsement. Certificate of insurance. I know it sounds weird, right? Because insurance is in the name, but this is not insurance, right? This is just evidence that an insurance policy existed at the time. For example, you may have to have one of these posted at a work site saying that you've got insurance for liability for the general contractor at a work site. That may be required to be posted up there, but just because you've got a certificate of insurance posted up there does not mean that the insurance is active and valid and you can make a claim on it. So that is the certificate of insurance. Now let's go over contract law questions here real quick, and then we'll be moving on to the next section after this. So first question on page 54 is going to be, which of the following is not an element of a legal contract? A, making a counteroffer, B, paying a premium, C, a 19-year-old applicant, or D, issuing a policy. In this case, making a counteroffer is not an element of a legal contract because it does not indicate an acceptance of that offer, so the agreement portion is not in place. Number two, all of the following are representations or misrepresentations on an application except. So what we're saying here is there's going to be examples of either a representation or a misrepresentation, and one of these is not going to be an example of that. So A would be misspelling your name. B, listing your address as 201 when it's actually 210. Stating your truck is not used in business when it actually is. Or D, truthfully saying that you have one speeding ticket. So in this case, the one that does not represent either a representation or a misrepresentation, because it represents a material misrepresentation, is C, stating your truck is not used in business when it actually is. Number three, if an applicant makes a material misrepresentation, the insurance company A can void the policy, B must void the policy, C will call the police, or D will issue the policy. In this case, can void the policy is the most correct. Avoid the use of must here. Again, this is one of those tricks that the state tries to pull on you. Number four, concealment is always found A, on applications, B, in fraud, C, in material misrepresentations, or D, in representations. So in this case, on number four, this one is going to be B, in fraud. So always going to be the case in fraud. Number five, which of the following is an example of a warranty? A, the insured's legal name. B, the insured's promise to install an operating fire alarm. C, the insured's promise to let the insurance company or insurers inspect the property, or D, the insured's credit report. So in the case here, B, the insured's promise to install a fire alarm is the only example of a warranty there. Number 6, all the following provide insurance except. So one of these will not provide insurance. A, certificates of insurance. B, written binders. C, endorsements. Or D, oral binders. Well, if you remember me making an emphasis on this, A, certificates of insurance are not insurance. They are just proof that there was once insurance in place. Number 7, which of the following is true of endorsements? A, they are issued by insurers. B, any officer of the insurer must sign them. C, they must be in writing. Or D, all of the above. So in this case, the most correct answer, because all of them are correct, is D, all of the above. Number 8, the party which makes the offer and contract of the insurance is called whom? A, the insured. B, the applicant. C, the first party. Or D, all of the above. This is another example of all of the above are correct, so it is the most correct answer. Number 9, the third party to an insurance contract is A, the carrier. B, a spouse. C, a resident relative. Or D, none of the above listed. In this case, A represents the carrier, that's the second party. B, a spouse, this is the first party. C, a resident relative, also part of the first party. So therefore, D, none of the above, is the correct answer here and represents somebody that is the third party of the insurance contract. Number 10, which of the following is not a source of underwriting information? A, interviews with neighbors. B, Google Earth photos. C, credit reports. Or D, none of the above. So the answer here is going to be D, none of the above. That completes chapter 4. We're going to be moving on to the next 3 sections here, which are going to involve property policies, dwelling policies, and homeowner policies in the next section.